This is another epic journey by Ridley Scott following Kingdom of Heaven. After overthrowing King Henry II in 1189 AD, the fate of the Plantagenet dynasty was in the hands of King Richard the Lionheart. To reclaim the fallen Holy Land of Jerusalem, Richard embarked on a crusade just 4 months after ascending the throne. However, war is a double-edged sword, and the heavy taxes made life increasingly difficult for the lower classes in England, putting royal power and finances in jeopardy. Reluctantly, he ended the crusade and returned home. To solve the domestic financial crisis, he launched a war against the French on his way back, intending to seize French wealth to fund his army. While others sent soldiers to the front lines, Richard the Lionheart, brave and battle-hardened, always led the charge. Sometimes, the line between bravery and recklessness is thin. Richard's courage certainly boosted the army's morale, but it also laid the groundwork for his demise. The siege was fierce, with the English army moving towards the castle under a hail of arrows. Under the cover of archers, the English hung tar bags on the castle gate. While placing the tar bags, a soldier named Jimmy accidentally got stuck on the gate. To save his comrade, Robin risked his life to rush to the gate. Agile and swift, he climbed the gate in a few steps, successfully rescued Jimmy, and both returned safely to the ranks. Then, at Richard's command, the archers lit their arrows and shot them at the gate. The blazing fire rose like a giant dragon. The French guards on the walls were instantly destroyed, and the English battering ram began its assault. However, after a whole day, the English couldn't breach the castle and had to camp nearby to prepare for the next day's battle. At night, Robin got into a conflict with a soldier named Little John. During the fight, they accidentally bumped into King Richard, who was patrolling the camp. The accompanying guards loudly reprimanded the soldiers. Seeing the king was angered, Robin took full responsibility, and Little John admitted his misunderstanding. Seeing the soldiers' honesty, Richard was pleased and asked Robin for his opinion on the crusade. It was clearly a loaded question, and any answer could be offensive.
What is your opinion on my crusade? Will God be pleased with my sacrifice? No, he won't. Why do you say that?
The massacre at Acrosire.
As expected, Robin and Little John were soon shackled. Not long after, the English launched another siege, with Richard leading as usual. With a fierce assault, the castle gates were finally breached. Inside, a cook was delivering food to the French soldiers when an archer was shot dead. The cook picked up the bow in panic and accidentally shot King Richard. It was a humiliating end for a king to be killed by a cook. A legendary figure's life ended just like that. Seeing the king dead, Jimmy hurried to inform Robin. Hearing the news, Robin decided to flee. Little John, who had previously clashed with Robin, joined them, and they decided to sail back to England. In the dense forest, a suspicious group of cavalry was galloping. Suddenly, 2 trees fell, trapping the cavalry. Before they could react, ambushers charged out. A deadly rain of arrows fell, and the cavalry was struck down. The mastermind appeared, checking the fallen cavalry, seemingly searching for something. Just moments ago, Philip had conspired with Godfrey to ambush Richard on his way back. With Richard dead, the French could cross the Channel and march straight to the Tower of London. Unexpectedly, Robert, escorting the crown back, stumbled into the ambush. From Robert, Godfrey learned of Richard's death and ordered his men to take the crown, but the horse carrying it bolted. Meanwhile, Robin and his group, fleeing, spotted the horse and prepared for battle. With their excellent archery, they quickly threw the enemy into chaos. Seeing they were outmatched, Godfrey ordered a retreat but was slashed across the face by Robin. While clearing the battlefield, Robin found the dying Robert. In his final moments, Robert asked Robin to return his sword to his father, Sir Walter, in Nottingham. Faced with a dying man's request, Robin couldn't refuse. After burying the knights, they donned their armor and rode swiftly. Soon, they reached the coast, and upon hearing of the king's death, the captain took them back to England. At night, they celebrated on the ship, but Robin couldn't be happy. He found an inscription on the sword's hilt. Since his father abandoned him as a child, this phrase was his only childhood memory. The next day, they safely arrived at the Tower of London. Under the Queen Mother's supervision, Prince John smoothly ascended the throne, marking the beginning of the Plantagenet dynasty's decline. After the coronation, Robin and his group hurried to Nottingham. Inside the tower, Prince John was furious. Richard's constant wars had emptied the treasury, and the throne he waited 10 years for was a shell. To fill the treasury, John decided to impose heavy taxes on the people. The Queen Mother immediately objected, and the minister William disagreed. Seizing the opportunity, Godfrey offered to force the nobles and merchants to pay taxes if given an army. Excited, John dismissed William and gave Godfrey full control. With military power, Godfrey led his army north to collect taxes. At midnight, the army set up camp. Meanwhile, under the cover of darkness, a group of French soldiers quietly landed in southern England. After regrouping, they headed north at full speed. Their stop was Godfrey's camp. At Godfrey's command, the French attacked, and the English were killed in their sleep. It was all part of Godfrey's plot. He planned to use the French, disguised as English, to forcefully tax the nobles, inciting a rift with John and sparking a civil war. Meanwhile, Robin and his group, after a long journey, arrived in Nottingham. A woman named Marion, upon hearing of her husband Robert's death, tried to hide her grief, but her state showed her deep pain. She took Robin to see the elderly Sir Walter. Learning of his son's death, Walter wasn't overly saddened. To show gratitude, he invited Robin to dinner. At dinner, Walter hoped Robin would stay and pretend to be his son. Walter was ill and had little time left. According to English law, if a noble dies without an heir, the king reclaims their land and property. More dangerously, the sheriff of Nottingham coveted Marion, and once Walter died, the family would become his slaves. Robin agreed to the idea. The next day, they spread the news of Walter's son's return. During their patrol, they found the church collecting taxes, even taking seeds villagers prepared for planting. Marion was helpless, watching. Robin had an idea and, on a dark night, intercepted the church's grain cart. Planting the seeds in Nottingham's fields. While hunting, he mocked the sheriff who coveted Marion. Their relationship deepened. Meanwhile, Godfrey, with French help, began maliciously taxing. Under John's banner, they looted and burned, even sacking York's cathedral. Hearing the news, John was furious, hating Godfrey's betrayal and the northern nobles opposing him. John wanted William to join him in suppressing the rebellion. Seeing the king's stubbornness, William decided to go north alone, hoping to unite the nobles against the French. He sought Walter's help to persuade the northern nobles, but Walter, old and blind, couldn't be swayed. While William was troubled, he discovered Robin. He approached Robin, saying he knew his father. Walter finally revealed Robin's lineage. Robin's father, Thomas, was an ordinary stonemason who gained fame for proposing a charter of liberties for the common people. The inscription on the sword was Thomas's motto, "But slaves must remain slaves, not challenge authority." As the charter's initiator, Thomas was beheaded. Witnessing it all, Robin was deeply affected, and the memory was buried in his mind. Walter presented the cherished charter, hoping Robin would attend the northern nobles' meeting. In Barnesdale's woods, nobles argued with King John. Robin, as Walter's son, appeared with the charter. With its support, the nobles united against the French. Though John resisted the charter, he had no choice but to agree. On the vast sea, shrouded in mist and waves, dozens of warships sailed through the howling wind. King Philip of France led his fleet across the English Channel. Godfrey invaded Nottingham. The French killed indiscriminately, driving villagers into a barn to burn them alive. The once peaceful village became hell. Sir Walter, enraged, fought back but was killed by Godfrey. Marion was dragged into a hut by a bald man. About to lose her dignity, she stabbed him with a dagger, escaping. At the critical moment, Robin's army arrived. Seeing the English, Godfrey fled. Without their leader, the French were demoralized and quickly surrendered to Robin.
Where will King Philip land, and when?
Dungeness! 2 days.
After interrogation, Robin learned the French would land at Dungeness Bay. After Walter's funeral, Robin and Marion couldn't hide their love and kissed passionately. But to stop the French king, Robin left Marion and set off. The entire English army followed. Riding swiftly, they reached Dungeness Bay. The battle was imminent. The French surged onto the beach. Under Robin's plan, the English split into 2 groups, archers hidden on the cliffs and Robin leading the cavalry on the ground. As the cavalry charged the beach, the archers unleashed their arrows. Despite their resistance, the French were overwhelmed. After several volleys, they suffered heavy casualties. As Robin prepared to charge, a mysterious group arrived. Removing their masks, it was Marion. Their eyes met, understanding she came for revenge. Robin said no more and led the cavalry charge. On the flat terrain, the cavalry had the advantage. The newly landed French couldn't withstand the assault, and the battle quickly turned one-sided. Seeing this, King Philip, still offshore, felt despair. With victory in sight, John rushed to the battlefield to show his presence. Marion targeted Godfrey, her father's killer, and struck him down. But a woman's strength is no match for a man's. Before she could continue fighting, Godfrey pulled her down. Seeing this, Robin roared in anger. In the nick of time, he saved Marion and dueled Godfrey in the water. Robin was cornered between 2 ships. Godfrey blocked him, trying to crush him with the swing of both ships. But Robin, experienced in battle, dived to avoid the blow. Hearing Robin's roar, Godfrey panicked and fled, but Robin wouldn't let him escape. His previous arrow missed, but not this time. Robin focused and shot, killing his enemy. Seeing Godfrey fall, King Philip retreated. After the war, John burned the charter and accused Robin of many crimes, branding him an outlaw. Unbeknownst to him, Robin didn't care and took Marion to hide in Greenwood Forest. Thus, he became a legendary outlaw, fighting for justice.